Hello, good evening, welcome. Tonight on the David Ellis Report, we're discussing the government's announcement that there will be no public remembrance this year due to the coronavirus. The government press release said Culture Secretary Oliver Dowden has asked members of the public to mark this year's Remembrance Sunday service on Sunday the 8th of November, to stay at home rather than to head to the Cenotaph due to the ongoing global coronavirus pandemic. But in the following paragraph, he stated this year, for the first time in history, the event will be closed to the members of the public, in line with the latest medical and scientific advice. So in fact, they are not asking. Oliver Dowden went on to say this: "This Remembrance Sunday has a particular significance, as it marks 100 years since the Cenotaph was installed. Whilst we will mark this occasion properly, it is with a heavy heart that I must ask people not to attend the ceremony at the Cenotaph this year in order to keep the public and veterans safe." Keep veterans safe. Astounding comment, considering what these service personnel have done during their military careers, where the majority of them have been shot at and bombed and been subject to improvised explosive devices. Community Secretary Robert Jenrick said, "We will not let these difficult times stop us from properly commemorating the sacrifices of those who protected this country in our darkest hour." And yet that's exactly what they are doing. Defence Secretary Ben Wallace said, "However, the armed forces will join with the Royal British Legion to lead the nation once again in showing our respects to those who have made the ultimate sacrifice." Now, how will they do that? And finally, Veterans Secretary Johnny Mercer said, "The key part of remembrance is taking a moment to recognise those who have given their lives protecting this country. And I hope that everyone will be able to reflect on this sacrifice this year, despite significant arrangements to the contrary." Earlier today, I spoke with 3 British Army veterans, and I began with Jana, a former Royal Marine. Right, Jana, would you introduce yourself so that everybody can see what you've done in the military?
My name's Jonathan Dennis Neal, MBE. I was awarded that, and it was quite a shock to my family, but I got that. I'd like to say I joined the forces in 1975. I was a cadet before that. I went to Germany after my first year. I joined at 15.5, 16. I went to Germany for 7 years to the famous Geordie Regiment, now disbanded. I did 4 tours to Northern Ireland.
Wow.
Every 18 months we were going. I did court cases as well I had to go back on. Then I joined the Commandos. I should have gone a long time before because I had a lot of friends between both regiments I knew. I served 16 years in 2-9 Commando, and I joined the Commando Reserves Engineers when I left. Did 3 years with them, so I've basically done nearly 30 years. I've served in Iraq, Belize, the jungle, where I lost some good friends. I served in Norway countless times, loved it, loved the skiing and that, but hard work. I've served in France, Denmark. I've worked with the French Foreign Legion. I've worked with the German Army, the Danish Army. Obviously, I've been to Scotland, Ireland, Wales. I've served with the Black Watch. I've served with the American Ranger, the American Marine, the Canadian Soldier. So I've sort of been around a bit and met some great people.
Yeah.
And the majority of Americans I know, French soldiers, they're all the same as us. They want their countries to be run correctly. And I'm very passionate about this. My father was a Royal Marine in the Second World War. He joined the prison service in '52. My Uncle Jimmy was 6th Airborne. He went in, my dad went in, they both came home. My great uncle Harry joined in 1928, the Devonshires, left in 38 and re-enlisted in 39 to go back in.
Wow.
He came home.
Right.
And my great grandfathers both fought in the First World War. One was in the Devonshires, he came home. Obviously I wouldn't be here. Yeah. And my other grandfather, my mother's side, was Royal Navy. First War, he came home. It goes back further to the Boer War, etc., etc., etc. I come from a long line. It's in the blood. Yeah. It's in the blood.
Jana, you've done your bit.
Yeah.
Now, we're here today to talk about the government announcement that there isn't going to be a national service or parade at the Cenotaph this year. And it's 100 years of the Cenotaph. It's its centenary. And I'd like you to give us your view as a time-served vet on that as the announcement that the government have decided that there isn't going to be anything held at the Cenotaph, and what they are doing is going to be done behind closed doors?
All I'd say on that is the military, when they have to do something to get it done, do things. But I assure you, I'm a Dartmoor, Devonshire man, and there will be farmers I know will be doing their little bit. My village will be doing its bit. Social distance will be here too. We know what we're doing. Everyone in the village will be stood with their families, and we'll all be separated. We'll all be wearing masks, and we'll be 2 or 3 of us will be monitoring everybody that comes to the village to visit and stand. They were standing 10 metres away from us all. This will be done to the letter because the MOD are the military, the veteran are very good at organising things. Me and other soldiers in the village, veterans, Marines, Commandos, I'll say no more, RAF, Navy, we have families in this village. I went, 4 generations of my family went to the school there. We have village cadets being run by a personal friend of mine, right, who's still serving. I'm not going to say his name. He'd like to be in here today, but he's working.
Yeah, sure. So you're going to do your bit locally
Definitely,
at home?
Definitely.
But how do you feel about the government?
Disgusting. But I've got friends in London who are going to do something as well. They're veterans, they'll be going to do stuff.
Now, well, that's interesting that you say that, because the government have asked in their press release, and we've just been looking at that they're saying that they don't want public to go to the Cenotaph for Remembrance Day.
How can they stop them?
Well, that's a good question.
In the villages and towns down in the West Country, they won't be stopping them.
With it being, I mean, obviously there's we're getting a lot of feedback from this, and I've asked for veterans to come out, and I'm thanking you for coming out and taking the time to talk about this. So what I'm picking up on, Janet, is a lot of anger and dismay, and veterans are asking a lot of questions. So you just tell me how you feel about this.
I've got friends in every town in this country, obviously, like yourself. I've got a lot of friends in Newcastle, or regiment. I know for a fact they'll be doing something. And I know all the police officers, I know a lot of police officers are former veterans, and they'll be there, if anything, helping us not get involved, because we are doing it to the letter. Let's at the pubs, social distance in the pub and outside the pub. That will be adhered to in my village.
So just where these ministers, so we've got Oliver Dowden,
yeah.
Robert Janrick and Ben Wallace, the Secretary of State for Defence, are all named on the official announcement. But just coming back to the sort of, whether they've obviously signed off on this and said that they're not going to do it. But there's been no explanation other than saying that they couldn't do it because of COVID. Now, as a military man, do you accept that the British military, past and present, could not have done something?
Yes, we could do something. And what disgusts me that it's okay to riot, do what you want, your masks around your face, yet if we want to march, we can't do it. So it's double standards here. You allow people to loot.
Are you talking about the BLM?
Yeah, the Troubles. Most of them were just thieves. It had nothing to do with politics. They were just thieves. And, look at all the bikers that went up there. Plus, I've got Hell's Angel friends that went. Well, I'm served. I mean, it's they can do what they want. We can't. So
yeah, I remember looking at those images of somebody climbing up onto the Cenotaph and trying to set fire to the flag.
Yeah, well,
where the whole of the Cenotaph was surrounded by people, and this was at the height of the first, let's say, the first wave of this COVID syndrome.
Well, that soldier in the cavalry, Jamaican chap, I think he is. He's not Jamaican. He's British. I know a lot of these men. I served with men from Jamaica, Tobago, the Fijian Islands, Samoans. They are proud to be British, right? And there's no racism at all, because I've served with men of all colours and countries and creeds. I've served with Muslim soldiers who joined the British Army. So what I'm saying is, you can't throw that one at me. It doesn't work.
Right. How do you feel about the sort of, because obviously it's the national ceremony for the Cenotaph, it's the nation.
Yeah.
So in terms of the nation to coming together with the past and the serving members of the military and the veterans, and the nation itself holding its respects at the Cenotaph there, that we're not having anything that, I mean, do you feel that the MPs have abdicated completely on this?
It's just, what dare I say, no backbone. They expect us to have a backbone when we get sent to war and be forced to serve our country, then get stabbed in the back sometimes. I mean, hello, most people I know in my village, farmers and stuff, they know what I'm about. They know what we're about. And, you take your country shilling. My father said, you take that shilling to the end, son. Not the end of your service, the end of your time. You help your communities, you carry on doing stuff. And that's what we do in our village.
Well, you took an oath.
I took an oath. I swear allegiance to the Queen and the King, the King to be. And I don't particularly want to swear no oath to no government. took my chilling.
Well, they're a part of it. I mean,
Yeah.
those ministers form part of the government, as does Her Majesty forms part of the government.
When I joined the reserves, I only swore to the Queen. I didn't swear to the government. And he said, I'm okay with that. You're a veteran, and I'm not. And I said, as a captain, and he said, I'm not going to make you do it because you've already done it once before. I wouldn't swear to the government. I swore to my Queen and my future King.
Yeah. Have you picked up on any MPs talking about this? The cancellation of the ceremony. Have you heard of any MPs talking about it?
Only what I've seen from friends on YouTube and my other friends having rants on Facebook, telling the truth, and they get kicked off for a few days and back on again. Now, what's wrong with the truth? Can't people handle the truth? I mean, stop lying to the people.
So what's your message to Oliver Dowden and Robert Jenrick and Ben Wallace on cancelling this ceremony? Have you got a message for them?
Yeah, I'm not going to swear or anything, but get some backbone, like the services. Right? The services run this country. It run a lot better than it does now. I'm actually disgusted with some of the local politicians, and I'll tell you what, stand by. Because the veterans have had enough, and there's nearly 5 million of us. And I've got farmers, there's a lot of them as well, and fishermen. I've got fishermen friends. They're the ones that are fighting for the rights, and they're getting somewhere now, the fishermen. It's about time our ships started defending our shores and not other people's.
Yeah, well, there's one or two admirals talking about that as we speak.
Yeah, I read about some good admirals as well.
Absolutely.
I know some good Navy guys.
Janet, thank you very much indeed for your time and trouble today. Thank you. The David Ellis report has had a significant email response to this issue. Andy said, as a former serviceman of 22 years, RAF Medical, I am both dismayed and disgusted by the government's stance on this year's Remembrance service. I never missed a ceremony throughout my years in uniform, and I have only missed one since due to a nasty case of the flu. Very apt. My second guest today is Tomo, who echoed these sentiments. Tomo, thank you very much indeed for coming in today. So can you introduce yourself and just tell everyone what you did in terms of your military service?
Yeah, well, I'm known as Tomo, and I did 30 years in total, and I spent most of that time in 2-9 Commando, and the rest of it was overseas doing private security.
It's a long and extensive career then, so you've gone from in to then carrying on in effect.
Yeah, I think I liked it too much.
You couldn't not.
Didn't like leaving.
You didn't like leaving. Well, today we're talking about the government's announcement that they don't want a national service at the Cenotaph, and it's 100 years of the Cenotaph, and the government are asking public not to go. So how do you feel about that?
I'm disgusted. I'm dumbfounded. It's 100 years since it was built.
Yep.
It's a place for reflection. It happens every year. The whole of the UK is behind it, and now all of a sudden we're being told to lessen that and that we shouldn't go for many reasons. And to be honest, I'm just sickened by it, and it's not going to stop me from doing what I need to do at Remembrance this year.
You're going to do that locally?
I am going to do it locally.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good. Just in terms of the government ministers that have signed off on this, because they've taken what would be a ceremony at the Cenotaph, it's going to be done apparently behind closed doors. So just from your point of view, for the serving members of the military and the veterans, that we're not going to have anything happening at all, so nothing happening at the Cenotaph. Is that some kind of abdication by the MPs and ministers that they couldn't organise anything at the Cenotaph under these COVID circumstances?
It's a massive shock to the veterans community, and we're all saying the same thing.
Yep.
You're trying to tell me the government can't organise anything and establish COVID-19, follow those guidelines, which we all do anyway.
Yeah.
I'm sure they could do something. So doing something behind closed doors, not even telling us the reasons why, other than covering it up with CV-19, I think it's just downright disgusting. And
well, there's silence because quite a lot of veterans have reached out and sort of got in touch now on this. And what we're getting is what are the reasons? But we've got, again, this silence from the MPs. Nothing from our MPs. It's as if they've abdicated their job. And we've got now, as Lord Sumption says, some kind of radio phone-in programme, not a parliament. But I can't come to terms with this. Are the government telling us that the British military and the services down there are not capable of doing anything at the Cenotaph?
it can't be that. We're all capable of organising with the CV19 rules and making it, like it always is,
Yep.
a well-attended remembrance
Yep.
service and parade.
Yep.
There's no reason why we can't do it under the guidelines. Why are they covering it up? Why wasn't it even mentioned?
Yep.
People only just finding out
Yeah,
about
yeah,
this.
that's right.
And it's planned every year.
Yeah.
Some people go to the Speenbridge Memorial, some people go to Whitehall, some people do their local remembrance.
Yeah.
But to tell us we can't do anything
On a national basis.
on a massive national basis is ludicrous.
Ludicrous.
Absolutely ludicrous.
So we've got 3 ministers here that have signed off on this. Oliver Dowden, Robert Jenrick and Ben Wallace, the Secretary of State for Defence. I think Johnny Mercer's also mentioned in there. So have you got a particular message for these people that have signed off on this decision?
I'd like to know what they've signed off on, to be honest. And Johnny Mercer, who's a representative for Plymouth, I've not heard a thing from anybody.
Yeah.
I'd like to be able to speak to him and find out the reasons.
The reasons for this. Well, this is obviously something that we've become aware of this week and sort of, and thinking, well, this frankly isn't on. We must have some kind of corporate memory within the military that's able to do something there, and yet there's a void. Okay, people are going to take it local and they're going to do their local parades and services, which is brilliant. So what are you doing? Were you going to be doing anything on the Sunday?
Unfortunately, I was going to go to Whitehall. I was going to the National.
Right.
However, my circumstances have changed, so I'm going to have to change it at short notice and do a local one. I'm going on the Plymouth Hoe, where there's quite a few memorials.
Right.
Myself and lots of veterans will be standing there loud and proud, wearing our berries, wearing our medals, observing social distancing, and we will be there in force.
Yeah. You're going to pay your respects.
I will always pay my respects, no matter where I am in the globe.
Hear, hear. Tomo, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. 2 more emails responses. Firstly from Tom, who says, I'm very angry this year at having this poignant act of remembrance being cancelled. And David, who says, thank you for raising this point about Remembrance Day. As a former veteran of the First Gulf War, I find the idea that we have just forgot our heritage and history outrageous. Well, I'm going to close with comments from former SAS veteran Rusty Furman. Right, Rusty, we've got a lot of veterans who are asking a lot of questions about why the government has cancelled the national service and parade at the Cenotaph, 100 years for the Cenotaph, and there doesn't seem to be a lot of explanation. So firstly, how do you feel about the announcement of them cancelling it altogether, that there's nothing happening at the Cenotaph at all?
Like everybody else, really, especially the veterans that I know and have been speaking to lately. Once again, silence in the background.
Yep.
Silence is golden.
Yep.
Why not tell us? They haven't planned this in 2 days. There is a service going ahead. We know that for certain individuals, royalty and so on.
Behind closed doors?
Behind closed doors, of course. So what are they asked? Don't go to the Cenotaph. Stay away. But you can do something around your local with rules that are in place. So my understanding is that why they've done it this way at such a late date, I've got no idea, apart from, are they frightened of the veterans again?
Well, I think it's a very valid question, because what they've not done, there's not been a lot of comments from MPs. We've got this silence again. There's not seemed to be any questioning from MPs as to why they've done this, because surely the present military and present people that organise these sorts of events could have done something, but they've chosen to do nothing.
Let's be honest, which is the easiest way out? The government, as I see it now, are taking everything the easiest way out. There's no thought to what the people want. Why not voice, ask the people, what do you want? Should we go ahead with it? Do we need 10,000 people there? Could we do it with 5,000 people, but make it social distancing and all the rest of it? Let's not cut the corners on that. But why cancel it for everybody at the drop of a hat when people have planned and prepared to go on this type of thing? Some of them go year in and year out. And let's be honest, it's for the fallen. Okay? The people that we remember 9 times out of 10 are the people who fought all those years ago for our future where we are today.
Yeah.
That is unacceptable.
And Rusty, they didn't take the easy way out.
No, they stood up for the country,
They stood
fought
up.
and died.
Yeah, correct.
And then 100 years later, nothing. Absolutely nothing. Disgusting.
What do you think the general public are going to do, really, when they realise there's nothing happened there? Do you think that veterans will go? Do you think public will go? I mean, the government are asking them not to go. Do you think that's realistic?
First of all, if I could go, I would.
You would.
Okay? Unfortunately, I've got other plans now, which I've had to make in the last couple of days. So I've got a local one that I'm going to go to. And I think the public, it's up to them. You know, if they go there and follow the rules, it's like any other day, isn't it? You know, it's like any other day at the office. They can go there, they can follow the rules, they're not breaking any laws, but they've been asked to stay away.
Yeah. Well, Whitehall is still functioning. There are still people in Whitehall now as we speak. People are going about their daily business. You know, the government hasn't shut down. Whitehall hasn't shut down. I bet if you and I were stood outside the Red Lion now, looking at the Cenotaph, the street would be full of people.
It's where we live. People cannot be invisible like the government try to be. They don't say anything. They don't speak. They don't communicate. They hide away. The public are going about their job. They're also going about their daily lives with no change, really, apart from we've got this COVID-19 going around. We all know that. We're all taking precautions. We all know that.
Yeah.
But the fact is that they do have their lives to get on with, like the politicians and everybody else have got their own lives to get on with. The world hasn't stopped.
No, that's right.
Right.
Correct.
It hasn't stopped.
Yeah.
The world goes on. You could be made to think, are they trying to frighten the public for some reason to keep away? Could that be an issue?
Rusty, I think Boris Johnson and his government have hit the jackpot with this one. Because I think they underestimate the British people's feelings on this subject, you know, and I've never accepted that there are no votes in defence as a gambit politically, which was pitched around the Tory party to MPs and when I was lobbying. That is not true, because the British public love the military, they love the Queen, and this is one of the bits where we come together as a nation and we pay respects to our fallen.
Every year, apart from this year, the 100th anniversary of the Cenotaph.
Yeah. And there's nothing.
Why? Nothing. You know, the public, you're quite right. The public should be right up there at the top.
Yeah.
They should be consulted, and, you know, they can make all the rules they want in Parliament, wherever you want to make them, they can do that. But unfortunately, or fortunately, whichever way you look at it, our public have got a right.
Yeah.
And they should be kept in the picture what's happening. They should have a say.
Yeah.
And
well, they pay their taxes.
They pay their taxes.
And there's and a lot of our families have paid in more than tax. They've paid in blood, sweat and tears.
Exactly. And that's really what it's about.
Yeah.
That's what people like myself go to a remembrance every year somewhere, wherever you happen to be, and you pay your respects.
Yeah.
And everybody else that goes there are there to pay their respects as well.
That's right.
That will never take out the British public.
No.
I don't care what they try to do, it won't happen.
Have you got a message for Boris Johnson and his cabinet ministers? And we've got Oliver Dowden, Robert Janrick and Ben Wallace, Secretary of State for Defence, who've apparently endorsed this announcement that we've picked up on. And you're right, there hasn't been a lot of press and media traction on this. But have you got a specific message for those ministers on this?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that, really. Once again, why don't they get together, stand up, be a voice, speak to the public, have a look outside what the real world is about, instead of locking yourself in those rooms over wherever they conjure up these ideas. Get a life,
Cabinet office.
out. Yeah, the Cabinet Office, certainly at the top of the list. Get outside, mix, find out what the general public, because they haven't got a clue.
Yeah.
And they can sit there as long as they want and come up with these ideas, throw one up here, throw one up there. Nobody's interested. That's why they're not playing the game.
Yeah. I'm wondering here. Anne Widdecombe said to us about ministers currently being bamboozled by the mandarins in the Cabinet Office, and I'm not so sure that that's the case, because looking at this, there doesn't seem to be any attempt to do something. You're not telling me that the British military and those people down there that organise these big national parades are not capable of doing something.
The military are capable of doing what they want to do.
Yep.
Let's be honest, all those years of tradition,
Yep.
100 years worth of one after another until this year,
Yep.
the military could screw the nut, okay?
Yep. Yep.
They could march in open order,
Correct.
okay? Which is, for those who don't know, it's another pace either side, and they could do it that way.
Yeah.
And, with the face mask on.
Has this corporate memory in the MOD gone? Where's this gone?
I'll tell you where it's gone. They don't know about it. They haven't got a clue. They're not communicating. What they're doing is making rules, but they don't know why they're making them. This is a good... Yeah. No, it's not.
Well, look, we've got Lord Sumption, former Supreme Court judge, speaking at Cambridge University this week, basically saying that the MPs had abdicated. And what I see with this bears out what Lord Sumption is saying, that because I've not, and I'd love, if someone would want to point out an MP that's asked a question on this, I would love to know about it. But does it appear to you like the MPs have abdicated their job and responsibilities in Parliament that represent us?
I mean, if looking from the outside in, it looks very much like that. The easy way out for everybody is the easy way out. Who is standing up nowadays and making decisions?
Good
Not
question.
many. Not many.
Is it Alexander? Who is it?
Well, it's just not happening.
Yeah.
These are being put into place. It wouldn't surprise me if it was over a couple of pink gins across the road at lunchtime. This is a good idea. No.
It's not a good idea.
It's not a good idea. No, the people want it. And if it's going to be behind closed doors, yeah, there'll possibly be a couple of veterans there. But actually, you know what? The veterans should be, in my opinion, at the top of the list.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, at the top of the list. They're the guys who've been out and fought. Some are still alive, some aren't. And I've got some good friends in both those categories. Yeah. We need to look after our own, and we need to actually get it sorted quickly. And you know what? You could organise it now for next Sunday. Okay, with a bit of thought.